好，大家好。All right. So last week, not last week, last time, we talked about 剑肉分枪. Okay, so 剑肉分枪 is a spear 心法. Okay, so this week we're going to talk about a phrase that also is in pair with 剑肉分枪. It's called 贴竿深入. Okay, so 贴竿深入 is also, like I said, it's also a spear combat 心法. Okay, 心法 is a state of mind. Okay, when you're in Chinese martial art, a lot of times when you apply a move or apply an attack or a application, you need that 心法 to pair up with your mental state. And so 贴竿深入 is essentially the offensive aspect of the 枪心法 as compared to 剑肉分枪. 剑肉分枪 is more of a defensive maneuver. Okay, so 剑肉分枪, again, to remind you, is that you react as your opponent's attack is reaching to an end, which in the description, it's almost like the spearhead is almost touching your flesh, right? So that's why it's called 剑肉, meeting the flesh. And what we're talking about this week is 贴竿深入, which is the offensive aspect of it. Okay, so 贴竿深入, what it means is, in direct translation, 贴竿 means two sticks, all right, or two poles, 竿, right, which is a spear is made up of a spearhead and a long pole. So 贴竿, so meaning when you want to attack, you want to stick and maintain contact of the spear's body, and then that's when you go deep. 深入 means to enter deep. Okay, so it sounded pretty simple, but there are a couple of keys here, right? So one of the key is a 贴, okay? We call 粘连, or the sticking. The sticking concept, in my opinion, is what defines Chinese martial art different from any other martial art. Okay, whenever there's circular movement, meaning in order to establish that circle, you have to stay in contact. You need to stick. Okay, so no matter what style, sticking doesn't, is not primarily belongs to Taiji. In a lot of other style, any other sort of a high-level styles of Chinese martial art all comes back to the concept of circle. And in order to execute circle, you need to stick. So 贴竿 meaning you have to attack while you're sticking, where you're in contact, which means you're applying pressure. Those of you who have experience in spear fighting or sword fight, Chinese sword fighting, or even empty hands, you would understand what I mean. Right? So when you're in contact, you go straight in with your leg applying power or body applying forward power to apply that pressure. So when you're with spear attacking your opponent, two-person face-to-face with their spear pointing at each other's face. So at an angle, they're crossing. So when you want to attack, you want to maintain that contact and go in. As you're going in, you go deep. And where does it reach? When it say deep, it's your opponent's hands, where your opponent is holding their spear. That is your first line of attack. As you're going in, you will split the opponent's spear. Okay, that's 贴竿深入, applying pressure straight in. First thing that you're going to be getting rid of or attacking, your first target are the hands. Once the hands is disabled, he's yours. And obviously, once you pass through the hand, it's the body, the head, the throat, whichever part is vulnerable. So 贴竿深入 is the attacking offensive 心法. Now, so in 形意拳, 八极拳, even a lot of the northern Chinese martial art were evolved, as we mentioned before, evolved from spear fighting. So in Qing Dynasty till now, give or take about 400 years. That's a long time. So during the Qing Dynasty, the law is more established. So people can't just walk around with weapons, cold weapons at the time. So a lot of these martial art has evolved into empty hand fighting. But with hands, obviously, it's part of the body, so it's very flexible. So in my opinion, Chinese martial art has that sort of a mechanic from thousands of years of wielding weapon fighting. And then it evolved into the empty hand in Qing Dynasty's 400 years. That's quite a long time. And martial art reached to a peak, right? So even prior to Qing Dynasty, people were, allowed to, I don't think people can freely walk around with a weapon and just start fighting with each other. But with empty hand, it's a lot more adaptable. A lot more styles and clans and schools are being established. So the empty hand really pushed the Chinese martial art to another peak during Qing Dynasty. So in empty hand combat, in specifically the styles that I mentioned, like say 形意拳, 八极拳, even 绵掌拳 from the north. So these are styles that basically kept a lot of the characteristics from spear fighting. And if you look at the way Xingyi fights, it's very similar to spear fighting. It's just that you no longer hold a spear in your hand. So a lot of these 贴竿直入, say this hand is making contact, it's apply pressure, and this is the spear you attack, right? So so even empty hand, it becomes more versatile with empty hands, but the body mechanics is remaining the same. The power, generation, the forwardness, the strategy is very much so-called the Xinfa is very much similar to maintaining that spear fighting mentality. So something worth mentioning is that spear fighting that evolves to empty hand. We have a saying. I'm going to have another episode talk deeper into this. 前手打人，后手使劲. Meaning you use the front hand to attack, but the rear hand is where you drive the power. Okay, so it's a deep phrase, so that's why I say I'll explain it in another episode. But that is a very significant, another Xinfa that is very much a spear fighting. So in a spear, you have a big spear. If you're not familiar with a spear, it's a 330 centimeter long pole with a spearhead in the front. It's quite heavy, and to wield it, be able to block, to attack, to make circle, to thrust, you need a lot of body mechanics, body power, leg power to drive it. So in spear, sort of maneuver spear, you need the front hand to be, you're training your body so the front hand no longer needs to bear that weight, but your rear hand is bearing the weight, right? It's driving that power. The front hand is basically to dictate the control, right? The change, 变化. Okay, so that is basically the 贴竿深入, how spear fighting and empty hand fighting are very much alike, very much similar, got carried over. Lastly, I want to talk about 步法, all right, 步法, the footwork in 形意八极绵掌, these styles that I just mentioned. It's the same thing, right? So 贴竿直入, not just your hand is going in and your legs are remaining in the same place. That doesn't make sense. So your entire body moves as a spear, right? So as you're moving, training to a higher level, you no longer just want to attack with your hand. Your legs is doing the same thing, right? So you also 贴竿直入. You're also entering and straight deep into your opponent's territory. Okay, all right. All right, till next time. And this is it for 贴竿深入. All right.